I'm Nancy Skinner. Thanks for joining us on another edition of NextWave's Leadership Forum. Today we have a very special guest. You may have heard of him if you're in Michigan, certainly, and the whole country is about to with his new book, Josh Linkner, the founder of ePrize, who's written a new book, Disciplined Dreaming, a proven system to drive breakthrough creativity. Joins me today. Thanks, Josh, for being here, first off.
My pleasure. Thanks so much for having me.
Okay, let's start. I want to jump into the book, and I've been reading it. It's a great, quick, easy read, and someone who has entrepreneurial mindset will just devour this book. But I want to give people some background here about you. Tell us a little bit about how your background. Did you plan on being an entrepreneur? Did it start at a young age? How did ePrize come into being? Or was it one of those things that just happened to you, you fell upon?
You know, I started my career as a jazz musician of all things. And in jazz, it's all about spontaneous creativity, improvising, making stuff up as you go. And what happened is that experience translated very well for me into the world of entrepreneurship. So over the last 20 years, I had the privilege of building 4 technology companies, including the one that you mentioned, ePrize, and have enjoyed a good amount of success. And so a lot of the things that I talk about in the book are specifically related to translating the things from the world of the arts, the creative world, into the business world, into a world today that's ruthlessly competitive and where we need creativity more than ever.
So take ePrize, for example, and tell us how you took it from conception to manifestation.
Well, what happened was in 1999, and I'd already started 3 companies, the whole world was focused on internet advertising. So if I jumped into that game, I would have been lost in the shuffle. But the category of promotions was a very large segment of the marketing mix and was largely dormant online. So I felt if everyone's going to zig, maybe I should zag. And instead of being a follower, I thought maybe I could be a category of one. So in 1999, I launched ePrize as a digital promotion agency, the first on the planet. And since that time, and of course we were laughed at, oh, what's this little company in Detroit going to do? And we've since become the dominant player in the industry. Today we work with 74 of the top 100 brands and do way more games, contests, sweepstakes, and loyalty programs than anybody else in the world.
So way before Groupon.
Before Groupon, of course, they're doing a different type of thing. But I'll tell you, Groupon is a great example. I mean, here's a company that launched in the eye of the storm in 2008 when things were the worst ever. But because they used creativity and innovation, because they pioneered new ground instead of just being another Me Too player, they won. And the large proportion of the spoils go to those people that are willing to forge new ground and create a new category of their own.
You say in your book, Disciplined Dreaming, that it is creativity, in fact, that will separate the winners from the also-rans in the emerging world of business. That creativity is your cornerstone from where everything else goes, right? Is that because of the world we live in, where there's just so much competition internationally here, a lot of labor? Is that where it's coming from, or something else?
Well, what's happened is that in 2008, we suffered a horrible financial crisis. And at that time, the rules of the game fundamentally changed forever. And as you point out, today we live in a world of ruthless competition, dizzying speed, and exponential complexity. And so today, what's happened is the advantages of the past have largely become commoditized. And what's left, the only thing that's a true sustainable competitive advantage, is creativity and innovation. And in the recession, what happened is most companies cut. And you can only cut your way so far. No company can cut their way to success. Ultimately, companies need to innovate in order to grow. And so creativity and innovation, original thought and imagination, these have become the currency of success in this new era of both business and life.
Well, that bodes well for America, because we do have creativity. We're not the cheapest labor in the world, but we certainly have creativity and innovation. Now, what you do in your book is talk about how you harness that and discipline yourself to make it real through a 5-step process: ask, prepare, discover, ignite, and launch. If you could just briefly go through those 5 steps and take that creative brainstorm, that aha moment that you might have, and then what do you do with it?
Sure. So what I discovered is that in the business world, we have systems and processes for everything. You know, how do you take out the trash? How do you deal with a customer complaint? Yet creativity and innovation, arguably the most important thing of all, is largely left to happen by chance. And so I wanted to create a structure and a system that was loose enough to truly encourage innovation, but structured enough to allow people some support so they could unleash their true creative potential. So as you point out, it's a 5-step process and very easy to follow. This is not something that needs to be studied for decades. It's something that any one of us can do immediately. We all have enormous creative potential as human beings, and we can deploy that quickly with a little bit of support. So quickly, first step is called ask. And in ask, you're awakening your curiosity, you're building awareness, and you're setting your creative target on a specific outcome. In other words, are you trying to change your product offering, reinvent your sales approach, or perhaps it's a new marketing campaign. So you can direct your creativity towards any business problem, large or small. Step 2 is called prepare. And in prepare, it's all about getting ready for optimal creativity. If you were an athlete, you wouldn't run out on the field the day before a big game and just jump out of a cab and start playing. You'd show up early, you'd prepare, you'd stretch, you'd get ready, you'd get in the zone. And creativity is no different, and there's a way to prepare your physical environment, your team, as well as your mindset and your culture in order to create the best you can. Step 3 is called discover. And in discover, it's very much like a scavenger hunt. You're looking under the rocks and you're looking around corners to find creativity where it often hides the most. So there's some specific techniques that people can do to discover new ways of finding creativity. The 4th step, ignite, is where the rubber hits the road. And these are 8 of the most powerful brainstorming techniques that you've probably never heard of. And these are fun ones. One's called the Reese's Peanut Butter Cup. One's called the opposite. One's called roll storming. And these are ways to unleash creativity in a very fun but impactful way. The last step is called launch. And in launch, you're reconnecting your analytical, linear thinking to the right brain, the creative, nonlinear aspects. In other words, you're starting to say, okay, I've got 200 new ideas on the board. How do I select the good ones from the bad ones? And how do I take a reasonable approach and put them into action so I can drive real business results? The reason I call the book Disciplined Dreaming is that we have to have both of those aspects today in order to win. Dreaming without discipline is just fantasy land. On the other hand, too much discipline and not enough dreaming is a rigid, stifling bureaucracy. So combined together, these two yin and yang forces can create enormous business results as well as impact from a human fulfillment perspective.
Okay, so my final question, and why I think this Disciplined Dreaming is a book that young people, especially people graduating from college, should read, is because the whole corporate structure seems to be falling away. Even big businesses that we've heard of are just crumbling in different ways, and young people have to reinvent or create their own jobs, their own careers. And what you're saying is you start with creativity. Think about what you love to do, get creative about it, employ these steps, right? So this is, I guess any age you can teach an old dog a new trick, but it seems to me, especially for young people, that they should be moving in this direction. You know,
I'm so glad you brought that up. It's so important. And unfortunately, we're failing our young people in many cases today. You know, our schools are very rigid. We teach kids to follow the rules, guess what the teacher knows. There's only one right answer, and whatever you do, don't make mistakes. So unfortunately, creativity in this country is actually declining according to research. So it's more important than ever for young people to tap into that creative potential and unleash it in order to win. I'll tell you, you might get hired based on your resume, but in this day and age, you are going to get promoted and reach your goals and your dreams based on your ability to create, to improvise, and to change and adapt in real time. Those are the skills that companies value the most, and those are the skills that are often underdeveloped, but most important in order to get ahead in your career.
Well, it's a fascinating read. Josh, Disciplined Dreaming, A Proven System to Drive Breakthrough Creativity by Josh Linkner. And Josh has proven it in the real world many times over. So you want to read a book from somebody who's actually done it and now has written about it. We really appreciate you joining us here at the Leadership Forum, Josh. Josh Linkner, thank you.
Thank you. It's been my pleasure.